Started. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate your attendance. Got a lot of great things going on tonight. First, I'd like to basically just recognize that we have on the stand in the council, we've got council person Burrell, councilperson Tafoya, councilperson Yeoman, and councilperson Saxton. Today is the January 16th at 6 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. I will indicate to you there was a plan to have this a live broadcast with that camera right there, but we weren't able to quite get it finished because we had court session today. But the plan in the future will be is all of this will be done live streaming. The city is making arrangements to set that up, but it is audio streamed, and so people at home can actually listen to the words that we talk about tonight. We'd like to take a little time and turn it over to Council Member Saxton to provide a moment in silence and also to help us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Council Member Saxton.
If you would, just a moment of silence. Thank you. We're actually, even though it lists me to do the pledge, other than that, I'm going to turn it over to Troop 275, the 11th Ward, and Ethan is going to lead us. Thanks, Ethan.
Color guard, attention. Forward march. Audience, please arise. Color guard, halt. Post the colors. Audience, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guard dismissed. Audience may be seated.
Thanks, Ethan.
Thank you. Let me just cover a couple of quick things just so you can understand where we're at. Today at 2 p.m., the City Council has been proceeding through an interviewing process to appoint a new City Council member. Roughly about an hour ago, the Council concluded those interviews and had down selected 2 individuals in accordance with the state code. Those 2 individuals, I believe, are here tonight. Yes, I see them both. So with that, their names, there's Joe Paul and Mike Pusey. The policy basically requires us now to simply make what's called the last vote. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Amy to do a roll call vote. And for the record, then we will log through that vote who will be the next City Council member by appointment. If there's a tie vote, then we go through what's called a lot process. But just recognize we're going to take that vote, and then for the record, we'll know exactly what our next step with it. So having said that, Amy, if you'll begin.
Councilmember Tafoya.
Mike Pusey.
Councilmember Yeoman.
Joe Paul.
Councilmember Saxton.
Joe Paul.
Councilmember Burrell.
Joe Paul.
Okay, Mr. Joe Paul, it looks like you have been selected now to sit as an appointed council member for the next 2 years. Congratulations. We appreciate your service. Next meeting, which will be the first Tuesday at 6 o'clock in February, we'd like to swear you in, and we'd ask you to consider bringing family and friends to celebrate that appointment. Thank you for your service. And for all those who in fact have taken the time to consider these positions, we obviously are very pleased. We had 6 of the 7 who signed up that provided excellent interviews. I'm sure it was very hard on the council to make a selection, but we appreciate your willingness to make Royse City better. Again, thank you for considering us. Let us go ahead and we'll move on. We'd like to swear in then our newest city council member. So if we could, she has, in order for her to be able to do the interviewing process earlier today, she was sworn in by the city. But amidst the family and friends that are here, we'd like to do that one more time. And so Amy, if you would, and Councilmember Burrell, if you would, please, we'd like to conduct that swearing in again. Thank you.
I state your full name.
I, Janalee Burrell,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Jan, would you point out maybe some family and friends that have joined us tonight to celebrate this?
I have a household that I've been roommates with longer than most of you have been married. But Luann, Wendy is taking pictures for my mother, who is 93 and not here tonight. And my friend Dave. I have a lot of neighbors and friends in the audience as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Okay, congratulations and welcome to the council. We have a new police officer to be sworn in tonight, so we're pretty excited about that. So if we can ask Mr. Baker, where are you? And Chief, if you'll help us, please. Little introduction here, if you don't mind. Sure.
Mayor, Council, City Manager. I'm really pleased to introduce Zach Baker. Comes to us fresh out of the academy, performed very well there, was probably top candidate there. Did an outstanding job. We're really excited. He's actually started field training this week and is taking off. So
We're excited to have you. Okay, welcome to the team. Amy, are we going to swear in? Please, if you go ahead and do that. And then I'd like, if you would, Zach, officer, if you would introduce your family after we're done. Okay?
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Zach David Baker,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Well done. Welcome to the team. Please introduce family and friends, if you would, for us.
So this is my mother, Kaja, and her mother and father. My 3 children are in the back, Jackson, Edney, and Cambria. My grandmother, my mom and dad are over here in the corner.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for your service. Comments? Council, any thoughts, comments you'd like to make?
No, welcome aboard. Welcome to the Royse City family.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Thank you. Just the last couple of swearing-ins, if you would. About a couple of years ago, we neglected to swear in a couple of planning commissioners, and we'd like to fix that now if we could. So if we could have Commissioner Leland Karras join us, and Amy, if you'll swear Leland in, thank you.
I state your full name.
I, Leland Norton Karras,
Do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity. Again, Leland is a member of the Planning Commission. And we'd like to invite Claude Payne. I think I seen Claude. Thanks, Claude. Thanks for being here.
I state your full name.
I, Claude William Payne,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Perfect. Thank you. I would like just to make mention to the council that one of our planning commissioners and chairperson over the planning commission resigned last week. There was some priorities in terms of conflicts with other assignments that she had, and so with that, we will be making arrangements to find a replacement. So, if you would, I believe Jason, your office is sending out a notification that we do have a vacancy on the planning commission. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Perfect. And now too, it looks like with the selection of Mr. Joe Paul, we'll now have a vacancy as well. So we'll need two planning. If you can get that word out, we'll go ahead and make those appointments. Thank you. Okay, we're going to enter into public hearing. And this one talks about the fiscal year adjustments to the fiscal year 2018 budget. Do I hear a motion to go into public hearing?
Make that motion. We go into public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are now in public hearing. Matt, it might be wise just to kind of talk a little about it, and then we'll allow the public to make comment on the discussion you're going to share with us. Thank you.
Mayor, and I'll kind of introduce it. We're going to kind of tag team this a little bit.
Okay.
And just for the new council members, mid-year budget, this is something that we always do mid-year to look at any changes in the budget and to make some of those changes. Just to give everybody a little brief history, if you all remember back in October, we did this already. It wasn't quite tuned to the $1.2 million, and I can kind of go over a little bit of that in a minute, but it was close to $1 million for the changes. And I'm learning too as we go through this. When we did this, it was just information for you. It wasn't the actual mid-year budget adjustments and the public notice. So with that being said, we come to you with a lot of the similar things minus a few other things that now that it's mid-year to kind of clean up the budget. There's a lot of things that that have come to pass in the last 60 days, and a lot of those is things that we've talked about. For example, the Pacific Corp building, that the open land that wasn't paid for as our lease agreement, so we had to backfill that. Some compensations for the Justice Court, some of the Christmas bonus is in there. Retirement for the recreation complex, the cameras and badge system for the fire stations is all part of that as well. Also, there were some grants that were funded and some stipends that were paid. Salary survey coming up. So there's a lot of different things, and if you guys want, Matt can kind of touch up on some of those, but so Matt, as we kind of intro, I thought I would just kind of
Okay,
lead into that.
so this is resolution 18-1. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So, with the original, when we initially put this out, there was a couple of adjustments that was on the agenda. The big one was the the funds that we would receive for the ice rink out back was $200,000 and not the 337. The 337 is actually what the city's going to be paying for that. We discussed this prior to this. We're gonna increase sales tax revenue. That's gonna match what we had last year. So the ending budget where the actual was, that's what this is now with the $60,000 increase. We're gonna be drawing down the fund balance by 1.2 roughly. And with that, our estimated reserves would be about 17.65%, where it was about 24%. So that's the major ones. Jason talked about a lot of the little ones. Some of the monies are going to be transferred over to the capital projects fund to be spent for the ice skating rink and for the downstairs. And so that's Fund 41, the capital projects fund. We also had a small increase in the Central Weaver Sewer District fee. And so the city is going to be paying a little bit more of that, and it's kind of a flow through from the citizens. The Central Weaver Sewer is more, or the Herefordshire area. Everybody else is on the North Davis Sewer. But if you have any questions, feel free. If not, we ask that you would approve this resolution.
Okay.
And also, just one other thing, the YCC discussion we had last council meeting, we did add that into
I
here
see
as
that.
well.
It's in the budget.
So,
Just,
okay.
yep, just underline that.
Thank you, Matt. Okay. Please, this is a public session, public comments. Please step up to the mic. We'd like your name and address, please.
Glendamore, 2088 West, 3825 South. Just one tiny thing about the YCC. I think it would read better if you said it was Roy City's contribution, or because it's not just, we're not just contributing to the YCC by ourselves. It's like our share, what other cities are doing. I think it would read better to people who don't understand that we're not just giving money away, you know?
No.
That's small.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's good clarification. Thank you. Any other comments about the budget? Okay, thank you. Having heard none. Council, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're now closed to public hearing. Council comments?
Nope. Looks good. I'll make a motion, Mayor, that we go ahead and we, oh my gosh, approve. I had consideration resolution number 18-1, approving the adjustments to the fiscal mid-year budget, 2018 budget.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, this is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Saxton,
Aye.
Councilmember Yeoman,
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Tafoya.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, we have another resolution. We're going to talk about certain property, excess property. Jason, you'd like
Yep.
to talk about that?
Yep, I got this. So Mayor and Council, we have a couple vehicles that are nearing the end of their road life rather than their shelf life. And the tires are pretty much done. The engines are tired and they've got a lot of use out of them. So at this time, we'd like to put in surplus and authorize for the sale is an old PT Cruiser. It used to be the police department's dare car, and we've had it in the fire department now for probably 5 or 6 years, where it really got used rather than the police department. That was a joke, Chief. And so we'd like to retire it and really give it the official fire badge and send it on its way. And we also have an ambulance that has seen a lot of trips to the hospital back and forth, and we'd also like to get rid of that as well.
Okay,
So.
thank you, Jason. Council, comments? Do I have a motion then to approve resolution number 18-2?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and we approve resolution number 18-2. Let me get back to my, there we go. Declaring certain property as surplus and authorizing the sale.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. This is roll call vote.
Councilmember
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell?
Aye.
Councilmember Saxton?
Aye.
Councilmember Yeoman?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, there's a resolution number 18-3 that looks at a job description. So Jason, if you'll talk to us about that one.
Okay, Mayor, Council, sorry for taking all the time. This is, you guys approving a job description for a risk specialist. We're doing a little rearranging with some employees at this time. You'll notice that the salary range is not on there because more than likely this will just be a lateral move. And then pending the salary survey, we'll just put that as part of the salary survey and then just kind of fall into the range where that goes,
Okay.
which will be probably July's budget. So that's why you don't see that. So just looking for approval for the job description. I hope you've all had time to read it. I think that's going to benefit the city because right now we have one person doing two major disciplines, and I think we can split that up a little bit and kind of make it better for the city. So that's all.
Council comments? Hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve resolution 18-3, isn't it?
I make a motion that we approve resolution 18-3, the job description and salary range for a risk analyst.
Second that motion.
Second. This is a roll call vote. Amy?
Councilmember Saxton?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFoya?
Aye.
Councilmember Yeoman?
Aye.
Councilmember Burrell?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, council. Okay, these are consent items. This is basically a just a motion to approve the minutes from December 19th and January 2nd city council meetings. Have you had a chance to look at them? Is there any changes or modifications? Everybody okay?
Yeah. Can we
Okay.
do them together?
We can.
Can I approve? Okay, so Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and we approve December 19th, 2017 council minutes and also January 2nd, 2018 council minutes as written.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, now we're into public comment period. This is an opportunity for you to voice any of your ideas, your thoughts, anything you'd like to share or think to the council. Please, if you would, come up to the mic. Anybody have any thoughts, comments? Please. Your name and address, please.
Marilyn Savage, 6071 South, 2200 West.
You might want to pull that mic down.
There you go. Thank you.
I'm addressing the city council members. On January 8th, I sent each of you a letter via email from the address posted on the Roy City webpage. I asked for your response on the matter. As of today, only one of you have responded, which is Brian Saxton. As for the rest of you, I'm curious why I have not heard anything from you. We as citizens rely on you to be our voices on this council. Today, I can't help but feel I am speaking into the wind. I feel you have not cared or how I felt. I am not alone in this as I read through the various social media outlets. I see many others that say our representatives are not responsive. I feel as we as citizens have a right to be acknowledged, and we should know your opinions, or even if it is to thank me for caring about the matter. When I ask questions, I expect feedback. You don't have to agree with me, just let me know that you have received the email. The only way I know to have your opinion is to email you. I don't know where you live, or even if you want me to have your phone number. So either tell me where you live and your phone number, or answer my emails, please. And that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I respond to that?
I did.
Please.
Mayor?
Yeah, I don't have
I
a-
appreciate that, Marilyn. Glenda gave me that same feedback that she wasn't aware that I had received her emails. I had received them. I need to respond. I wasn't up to my social media. I didn't have access to my new account until this week. So I apologize for that. I'm not defending it. I will respond to you in the future.
Okay.
No, I don't
Thank
have
you.
it in my emails, so I don't know how mine got missed. I don't have it. Maybe we'll phone call.
let's maybe we could, if you would, council members, take a look at the newsletter. Verify that the email addresses and phone numbers that are found on the newsletter are still accurate. And then we'll do some double checking, Marilyn, just to make sure. But please, if you please keep sending it to us. Your voice is important to us, and we need to provide response, as you stated. Even if we don't necessarily agree with your position, I think the position has to be is that we accept, we recognize you sent it, and we appreciate it, and we tell you that. So we'll do better, I promise. Okay? Thank you. Any other comments? Please come up to the table, up to the podium.
Keith Wilson, 6004 South, 2550 West.
Keith?
I just wanted to voice my opinion on the council seat that's open that you'll be appointing. I don't think I missed that, did I?
You sure did. I'm sorry.
I did. Who was it?
The council selected Mr. Joe Paul as being the appointed city council member 2 years.
Thank you for selecting the seat that the people of Utah, Roy, Utah wanted. I appreciate that very much.
Okay, sir. Thank you for your comments.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Please. You can give us your name and your address. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eric Rudolph.
Eric?
I live at 4099 West, 5600 South. I wanted to bring up my concern with the winter parking ordinance.
Yes, sir.
Just as a reminder, the parking ordinance says that we can't park on the streets of Roy during the 15th of November to the 15th of March during the hours of 1 a.m. to 7 a.m. And I feel that this ordinance is outdated, and frankly, it's draconian to those who have multiple cars. I have me and my wife both have cars. I have 4 kids that are teenagers or adults. We have to do a juggle for our cars every night to make sure that no one's parking on the street, and it's really annoying. And we just don't have enough garage space and driveway space, so at the night we have to park so we're tail end of our cars are on the sidewalk. It's just so we don't get a ticket. My son's already had to pay a ticket. So I don't like that, obviously, especially since there's no snow on the ground hardly. It just doesn't seem like it's a really good idea. So, and there's some ways to fix it, and I thought I'd bring that up to you. So here's my ideas. Since we're only getting snow maybe about 1/10 of the time of this whole 120 days that we're saying don't park on the streets at night. I'm saying, I looked up, I didn't have a whole lot of time to do research, but I looked up this Harriman City, Utah ordinance, and what they say is this. It says, current city ordinance prohibits parking on the street when it is snowing or there is snow on the street from November 1st to April 1st. So I still like the 15th through the 15th of March, but November to March. But the thing is, it's common sense. If there's snow on the ground, move your vehicles, get it off the street. We shouldn't have to do this juggling, in a, because I think it's just draconian the way we're doing it right now. There's another option which I don't like, but I figured I'd give it to you guys anyway. If people have 3 or more cars, maybe consider giving somebody a permit that says, hey, we recognize your issue, buy like maybe a $10, $15 permit and just park on that way they have something they can put in their car and they can park on the street and the guy won't give them a ticket, and they know that, hey, I don't have a place to park. Where am I supposed to park my cars if I have, 4 cars in my family and not enough place to park? So I just think it needs to be updated. And I would really like your support in promoting that measure and doing that for the city, and give your residents a little bit of a break. I appreciate that.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your time. Okay. Anybody else? Public comment? Please.
Bradley Sawyer, 2625 West, 5625 South. I'm pretty much echoing what Marilyn said earlier. Not just with this within the last few weeks, but for the past couple of years. I've had issues with sending emails, not getting any kind of response. That was one of the several reasons that I chose to run for city council, because myself and multiple people, as was said on social media outlets, which are restricted to citizens of our city, are being told that they're not hearing back. I think that we need to remind the council members that they're beholden to those that put them into that office. And we need to hear back. Even if you don't agree, which was said before, at least acknowledge that you've received that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate your comments. Okay, anybody else like to share a thought with us? Okay, seeing none, okay, let's move on. First, council, any comments on the public input? Anything you'd like to share or thought about, or just want time to think?
I appreciate myself. I appreciate the input. I'm new at this. I admit I'm new at this. There's no shame in admitting that I'm on a learning curve. But I can promise each and every one of you, if you email me and I can figure out how to work my email, I'll respond. And whether you like what you hear or not, I want you to know that we've had this discussion actually earlier as a council today. And I'm not grandstanding, I'm just letting people know that we can be reached. And even though my face isn't in the newsletter, because I wanted to be able to hide at Harmon's, my phone number and my email address are. Thanks.
Thank you.
My phone number is correct. My email is correct.
Okay. We'll do better. Obviously, I think the points were well clear. We do have an opportunity to make improvements in keeping the communication lines open. Please, when you send it, you may have a specific question, maybe to a particular city council member. That's great. But if you would like to courtesy copy the mayor, when you send that, I can try to help if there's some answers you're looking for to provide those answers as well. So we have made a declaration. We're going to be transparent. I guess the point of this conversation would be is then prove it. And it's the proof is the doing, not the saying. So let us try, let us work harder at it. We'll do better at it. Thank you. Okay, we have a couple of presentations we'd like to share with the group, and we in the council are excited about that. So if you would, Jason.
Okay, the first one is Mr. Paul Johnson, if he'll make his way to the front center of the podium. And he decided to go with the blue shirt instead of the white shirt. But Paul is the representative for IRMA, which is the Utah Risk Management Mutual Association. We currently do business with IRMA, and with the new mayor and new council members, he just wanted to come and introduce himself and kind of give a brief presentation.
Thank you.
Jason told me I had 3 hours. Is that?
Yeah, tomorrow afternoon.
Minus about 2 hours and 50 minutes. How's that? As he said, my name is Paul Johnson. I'm the executive director of IRMA, Utah Risk Management Mutual Association. We are your liability insurers and have been for many years, 30 plus years. And I wanted to explain to you, particularly the new ones, but refresh the memories of you who have served previously, what IRMA is. It is a pool of cities. It is not an insurance company. It is a pool of cities who have decided that they wanted to run with a self-insurance model, but put enough safeguards in place that their budgets would never get hit in any one year. And what that does is it gives some real control to each city. Every city that's a member, there are 16 cities, has a representative on the board of directors. And so you get a say in what the coverages are going to be, what the policies are going to be, and the practices and procedures. You also, when you get a claim or a lawsuit, one thing that really separates IRMA from a regular insurer is that instead of just going with the attorneys that we decide to defend the city, we call your city attorney, your city manager, and say, whom do you want us to retain to defend you? So we're getting attorneys that you feel comfortable with, that you think can do a good job without being too expensive. You also get to weigh in on the case strategy. I spoke with the city attorney there were some city attorneys of cities that are not part of IRMA that were very unhappy with the attorneys that had been retained by their insurer because they would not follow their suggestions as to what would be appropriate motions, appropriate ways to handle the litigation. In IRMA, the city's in the driver's seat. We'll tell you what we think, but for example, if the city does not want to settle and wants to litigate and take things to the mat, that's what we'll do. If you want to settle, that's what we'll do. We have many cities that we have a case right now involving police liability where the police department didn't do anything wrong. They feel very strongly about that. And even though it's going to be very expensive for IRMA, they have asked us not to settle that, and we plan on taking that case to trial. We should win. There's no guarantee ever that you will win, but we're willing to do what the city requests in that case. Because the cities have pooled their resources, there's a sufficient reserves to take care of any overages. But you should understand that IRMA being a self-insurance program, you pay back the monies. We pay everything up front, then you pay back 20% a year over 5 years interest-free. So it's basically an interest-free loan. But there's a cap on the amount that you pay back. You're not going to pay over 25% of your premium on any given lawsuit in any given year. So, for example, in Roy, the most that you pay back on a lawsuit in any given year is a little over, it's $19,500, I believe, $540. And if the 20% of the money that's been expended is greater than that, then IRMA reserves make up the difference. You do not have to pay that back. And then once you reach a certain level, it's called a self-insured retention level, we have procured reinsurance or an umbrella policy that covers each claim, not in the aggregate, but each different claim or lawsuit up to $6 million. And that kicks in at, for a city your size, $717,000. So let me tell you how that would work. Let's suppose that worst case scenario, we haven't seen this, but we've come close in a case or two. But worst case scenario, you're faced with a $2 million judgment. What would happen is that you would pay $19,540 for 5 years, and that's your share. That's it. Because of that cap that we put on your losses. And the whole reasoning behind that is, yes, you want the control, you want to be self-insured, you want to call the shots, but cities can't plan for that type of hit to their budget. And this is much easier to spread it out over 5 years and then cap the amount. So you'd pay $97,000 over 5 years towards a $2 million judgment. IRMA, out of our reserves, would pay $620,000 over that. And then our reinsurer would pay just under $1.3 million of that. None of that has to be paid back. The only thing you pay back is the 20% up to that cap amount. That's sometimes complex for people, but if you have any questions when I'm through here, I'll be happy to go over that for you, with you again. Now, since IRMA, our reserves are at risk, we really love cities who are way into risk management, loss avoidance, risk avoidance. Sometimes it's inevitable, but cities can do everything possible to avoid the liability in the first place. And to do that, we have several different programs that we ask each of our cities undertake. One is the inspection program. We come around twice a year and we inspect your city, and we have about 75 different areas that we inspect, and we look at your policies, we look at your procedures, your practices, we look at your facilities, we look at your sidewalks, we look at your water meter lids. We look at all those things, and we give you a score, and then we give you a written, detailed report with photos of what needs to be improved. That's done in the fall. We come back in the spring, and we say, okay, let's go look, see how you did, and then that factors into the premium, not in a huge way, but in a small way. It does factor into your premium every year. I'm happy to say that for the first time in 30 years, Roy obtained a 100% on the inspection. You got all the points.
Perfect.
And that isn't real common, I should say. So we're very happy with you on that. The other thing that we do is training. We are avid trainers. We really want your employees to get all the knowledge that they can have to avoid liability. And so we require, part of that inspection program is we require certain trainings. Over and above that, though, we'll come in and do any training that you request. We love to do that in person here at your city facilities. We'll do multiple sessions so you can bring everybody in without having to pay overtime. We have done a few at Roy City in the last year or two. We've done police liability, we've done sexual harassment, ethics, land use liability. Those have all been done here with multiple sessions to make sure that all your employees get covered. We also have, over the past year, we've developed an online training program where your employees can do training over a variety, hundreds of different topics at their desks, individually or as a group, and receive credit for that. And none of that has any cost at all to Roy above the premium that you pay. And then we also have regional training that we do. For example, we'll do 4 throughout the state. So here we do one in Ogden and the cities around Ogden is one of our cities, and the cities around Ogden that are members would be invited to attend there. We did one on officer-involved shootings. That seems to be a rather common subject right now, and we wanted our police officers to know what to expect when they're faced with a scenario that where they're threatened with a deadly force situation. We also have one coming up where we've brought in a couple of experts to do de-escalation and dealing with the mentally unstable, which seems to be very much in the forefront of our citizens right now, is how officers are able to deal with mentally unstable. Hands down, it's one of the most difficult things that a police officer does. Usually the stable ones don't need our officers to respond. It's when somebody is not acting appropriately due to whatever pressure or illness they have that the officers get called, and it's very difficult. So we're bringing in an expert to teach officers, and your officers are invited to attend that. This one is in Salt Lake, but that's free of charge again for your people. A couple other things, we have a very small staff, so we keep our overhead down. We don't have a lot of administrative costs. We have 4 employees plus one contracted claims adjuster that I might add is probably the most sought after claims adjuster in the state of Utah. Her name is Libby Lowther. She does our litigation management and our claims adjusting. She comes here. She's not adjusting your claim from out of state, which is the case with many insurers, but she comes right here and meets with your citizens and meets with you. She will make sure that you get the best result possible when you do get a claim or when you do enter litigation. We also have a contract accountant. He's the same accountant that has been retained by the Utah League of Cities and Towns after they had their little debacle. He oversees the financial end of things with IRMA and our accounting. Because the premiums are, the way the premiums are determined, it's based on your population, your budget, and then your inspection score. And that formula, it's a formula that has not changed since 1985 when IRMA was established. So in that regard, the premiums have never gone up. Your amount will vary depending on those three things, and also how much you're paying back for claims and litigation. But over the past couple of years, for example, 2016 and 17, you paid $123,000. 44 of that was money being paid back. Well, you've paid back some claims, and that's dropping to $39,000 this year. So you're actually dropping by $7,000 because there's a drop also in the part of the premium that's dependent on budget, population, and inspection score. And the 100% inspection score helped you out. So that dropped your premium some.
I thought that should be free next year.
Oh.
Yeah, if we get 100%, our premiums are free for.
Yeah, we're zeroing in on the fire department. We're looking for old beater PT Cruisers that will drag that score down. And I don't
You opened
know if
yourself up on that one.
I don't know if you're going to pull off the 100%.
Yeah, Carl likes that.
Yes. At any rate, we're very happy to serve you and want to stay in open communication with you and be transparent in what we do. And we love working with your administrative staff here.
Mr. Johnson, thank you for the time. The council, any comments, thoughts?
No,
Jason,
great.
I just know we put an RFP out for our providers. Where are we at on that?
Yep, we're in the process actually.
Okay. How long is that going to take?
Let's say 60 days. Yeah, so we had to wait for some insurance information back. So we're in the process. We're actually in the process about 4 or 5 RFPs, and I can bring that up. I've got the RFPs for the city manager's notes. I'll bring it up.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Great information. Thank you. Okay. Jason, the complex.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting one. I know we've been waiting for this. So I'm going to let our Parks and Rec director, Mr. Flint, introduce his special guest.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, members of the community, we're excited to be here tonight to talk about possibilities of what can be at the complex. Julie Cragen, my aquatics director, and I have been talking for years of ways to improve the complex, what we can do as far as physical structures, what we can do as far as programming, and we've done some good things. We've redone the basketball court, we've redone the weight room, we've done non-visible things like boilers and ceilings and roofs and chillers, and we've put in a lot of effort into it. But it became clear to us, for us to get to the next level of this vision, that we needed to bring in a team. And through our research, we came across a company called ArchNexus, and we found that they fit what we were looking for very well, for a couple reasons. They deal with this world. They deal with feasibility studies in this world. And the other reason was the person that's here tonight, Holly Adams. Some of you may recognize Holly. Holly has valuable insight into this world. She's spearheaded many projects, many successful projects. One you may know of that she spearheaded was the Roy Aquatic Center. Holly was on that team that helped design the Aquatic Center for us 16, 17 years ago. And so we wanted to get with Holly and her team to help us through this process, to help show the possibilities of what we think we can have and what we can be. So
She's right behind you.
she snuck behind me. We do have some issues with our projector, but I've been told that Holly's presentation will be able to be seen on the TV. And so I would like to turn the time over to Holly and appreciate her coming today.
Thank you.
Travis.
Yep, it should plug right in.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going.
Some of these people are gonna have to crank one max.
So first of all, I'd like to thank Travis for having us back to look at some recreation issues at Roy City. I was fortunate enough to work on the aquatic center about
Okay.
16 years ago.
There, we're good.
And when we first started talking with Travis and Julie, they were looking at ideas to reinvigorate and maybe perhaps renovate the existing complex. And so we started with the question of, well, what's the vision for Roy and their delivery of services to their community? And we looked at what the current population is, surrounding population. If we maintain the existing growth that you're experiencing in the last 15 years, what that might look like. So that's the first place we stop, because when we look at recreation, we look at level of service and service delivery. So, kind of out of order. So we also look at what is the capacity of the community for the tolerance of the community for spending money on recreation. And in looking at your specific revenue that you've experienced, we know that in 3 months of summer revenue, you are collecting $636,000. And in the remaining 9 winter months at the complex, you're collecting $22,000. So very, very broad stroke, and simply what that means is that there's 90% of money out there that would be going towards recreation that people are willing to pay that isn't being doesn't have a facility to go with it. That's just a broad stroke way of analysis right off the bat, because we know that in the summer, people are spending that money, and in the winter, they're not, because they don't have a place to go. So we looked at the aquatic center. I was happy to be involved with this. It's a pretty successful facility. You can tell by your revenue. It's almost revenue positive. That's an amazing amount. That's amazing accomplishment for a city. Then we look at what's the level of service that is expected in a city. And the way that we measure this is we look at, there's several ways to do it, but a very simplistic way, and to get really good facts right off the bat, is to look at NRPA. NRPA is National Recreation and Parks Association, and they publish guidelines for individual cities, communities, counties, to look at the level of service that's expected in a community for recreation services. And they look at open space and parks, but they also look at recreation facilities. And what they've recommended is, depending on your population, that's, the age of your population, the income levels of your population, they recommend between 2 and 3.5 square foot per person of recreation opportunities. Boiling it down to just the bare bones of what's a good kind of indication. And so when we look at your city, what we find is that in 1977, you had 2.4 square feet per person. And what's happened during that time, in the last 37, 40 years, is that you've dropped down to 0.82 square feet per person, which really puts you under that range of delivery that is a national average and has some expectation that's based upon what's delivered in other places in Utah. So that's just kind of big, broad strokes to kind of see, what are we doing right, what are we doing, what can we improve on? And then we look at, well, if we take the next 15 years, what does that look like? And that's where we come up with, probably you need about 100,000 square feet of recreation center just to get to the 2 square foot per person, and kind of stay back where you were in 1977. So we also looked at the Roy City complex. I'd like to compliment Roy City. That facility is extremely well maintained. It's spotless. It's, for a facility of its age, it's highly used. It brings in a phenomenal amount of revenue, believe it or not. Even though I know that you subsidize it, it does extremely well based upon amenities, pure facilities, and the age comparisons.
Paul, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
When you're talking the level of service, are you just talking recreation building, not parks, skate parks?
Right. I had to separate it out because actually you do very, very well on parks and open space. It's the built facilities that you're falling under the curve.
Not
and that's
including
kind
the
of
aquatic center, we're just talking complex only.
right. So we can't really count the outdoor aquatic center. We can, But the problem is it's only available 3 months of the year, and we live in Utah. So we kind of have to discount that a little bit and look at it in a more broad sense. So I would like to, again, compliment you guys. You do a great job on open space and parks and programming. Excellent. So a place where we could do a little improvement is on facilities. So then we look at the facility, and you'll all recognize this, and we ask, well, what can we do for this facility? What can we do to renovate it, make it, reinvigorate it, really serve the community? Because my understanding is right now the community that's well served with this facility is swimming lessons and silver sneakers. So we're missing a huge segment of the population that's underserved. And we also look at this facility and say, oh, wow, no place to really expand. And if we do expand, we have a big bad problem. You cannot park this facility, no matter what you do. And I know it seems ironic that you're going to a fitness center, but people still want to be able to park within, you know, eyesight of the front door, and it's a safety issue. So during the day, from 7 o'clock to roughly 3 o'clock, there are no parking possibilities at all. And that's really makes it difficult for the facility to operate and serve your clients, because half the day they can't park there. So no matter what we do, we have to address parking. Going forward, we still decided, well, maybe we could find a bus route or buy some adjacent land for parking. So we thought, well, what could we do with the facility? So we looked at, well, a $1 million-ish upgrade. What would that get us at that facility? And what that would get us is some water amenities, reinvigorate the swimming pool, and really just an upgrade of the finishes and lighting and make it feel a little bit more modern. Not a lot of revenue. You probably aren't going to increase your revenue. You're just going to put more money into it and not realize revenue and maybe realize more users. So we looked at, you know, what does that $1 million buy? It buys upgrades, finish upgrades, and maybe a little splash pad or reinvigorate that part. So the second idea was, well, we know that in order to make revenue in a recreation center, we need to provide fitness and fitness opportunities, dance, yoga, machines. And the people that use those type of facilities are, I don't want to say casual users, because we do sell a lot of memberships with that, but they're people that are just dipping their toes into the fitness world, and they don't want to go buy a membership at Gold's Gym. They don't want to buy a membership at Planet Fitness, but they want to start, maybe get fit. So what we did was we looked at what would $3 million do, and that would get us about 4,000 square feet in fitness. For a community of your size, you need at least 6. So
6,000 or 6 million?
6,000 square feet, at least 6, just based on your population.
So quick question.
Mhm.
With that $3 million upgrade, do we still get the upgrade of the pool and the splash pad?
Not in the 3 million, but
Okay.
in the 5 million.
Okay.
So we looked at what does 5 million get us, and so we could upgrade that. We get the splash pad, we get the fitness. We're replacing the racquetball, because really your fitness all has to be together, and remodeling that space. But we still haven't solved those core problems. Where's the front door? How do we park? And are we really providing the level of service? Because really we're only adding, you know, 6,000 square feet. So you're still way, way, way below that level of service number.
Where are you adding this at, Holly? Are you just going up, taking away from things? Because
So what we did was we remodeled the northwest corner and pulled out the racquetball courts from that area, made it all into one big fitness area, put the racquetball back, because you can't take something away from people or you'll lose membership, right? And then added the splash pad at the front. None of them are really going to help revenue that much, because they're kind of doing them halfway, right? You're helping things, but you're not fixing things. So, working with Travis and Julie, just talked about what's the next possibility. What do we do if we have a different site? And so we looked at an idea at Emma Russell. And that was just one park. Travis said that wasn't maybe his first pick, but we just looked at, well, what could we do if starting with a new site? Using about 6 acres, we look at about an 80,000 square foot plus recreation center, new fitness, gym, 3 gymnasium, recreation pool, competition pool, lockers, just kind of the expectation. I think close around here, maybe Clearfield, probably bigger than Clearfield because you have a higher population in your in the city and in the surrounding areas. So that's kind of the vibe that we're looking at here, and we put together, you know, a program, looked at where it could fit, looked at parking. We liked Emma Russell because it had a lot of existing parking that could be used. With the new facility, we like at least 300 stalls. Parking's expensive, so that gives us some real good co-location of existing facilities. But I think that there might be other places in the city that are better than Emma Russell, so
Maybe more centrally.
more
in the
centrally
city.
located. It's nice because you have the land. It's identified as a recreation destination within the city, but it could be easier to get to. So, and quite frankly, this concept could be identified at other locations as well. It's just an idea to get us what's the magnitude that we're talking about. And we look at a cost estimate associated with that, and I apologize, it's kind of hard to see, but when we look at all those spaces, putting on plenty of contingency and soft costs, we're about 28.9 million. And what that does though is it gets you back to where you were in 1977. So it gets you back to that 2.4 square feet per person, and it gives you a little bit of area to breathe in the future. You know, you don't want to build something for today because, as we've seen, you can maintain a facility for 40 years and still have a great functioning facility. So we have to have a little vision. Those are possibilities. That's all we're talking about is possibilities.
I have a question.
Yes.
With the recent election, we approved a bond for a new Roy Junior High. Have we ever thought about incorporating some of these ideas in taking some of that property that's going to be there, or not? It's just a question.
No, that's a great question. And I have met with Matt Williams, and the superintendent of the district has kind of had me and Matt work this process out. Yeah, there's huge possibilities of tying in with something like that. Space is a concern. You know, frankly speaking, it would be one where both sides would have to get together. Like I said right off the get-go, to me tonight's about possibility and about talking about a bunch of stuff. But I do think, much like that happened at Clearfield, a joint venture between the school district and the city, we would be foolish if we didn't explore it. You know, I mean, frankly speaking, if this is the route we want to go, it's something we need to look down. And like I say, Matt Williams, he's the principal at Roy Junior, and I have had several conversations. They have recently just got back some of their plans that they're going over and deciding upon, and as they get closer, that's when he and I will meet again. Sorry.
That's a really good point. The last 2 facilities that I've actually been involved with the construction of have both worked with the school district, and one received 1.3 million and one received 1.7 million towards their facility and some land concessions as well. So it works out well. It's better if it's a high school, but a junior high does work. And the reason is that a lot of junior highs don't offer aquatics. It's more of a high school in Utah. So then the last thing I wanted to share with you is kind of where could you go now? And I think that your next steps are to think about your vision for the community. What is your desired level of service? How are you going to make these decisions? What's the lens that we look at in making the right path forward? Is it remodeling the complex? It's in excellent shape, but it does have some issues with the land. I would recommend that you look at a feasibility study. the feasibility studies that can be commissioned include ideas about level of economic and revenue expectations and delivery of what would be in the facility. Those, we don't do them in-house, but they are done by a firm in Colorado very well that's, you know, familiar with this region. We don't want somebody that's working in California. We want someone that's working in the Intermountain region. And they're very helpful in making a decision. We could do some test fits. We could also do surveys, and you can do surveys yourself, or you could do it through a company. It's getting easier and easier to get that information. We could also do some public engagement, which means open houses, and we like to take it on the road. So we go where people are going to be, because if you ask people to come where you want to have an open house, you'll get not as good a show as if you went to like a junior high when there was a science fair or someplace like that. A community event is a really good place to measure people's tolerance for bonding, if it's a bond situation, or what their desires are in the facility at large. And then, you know, we could go and look at some schematic design considerations as well if you were able to identify sites. And so then you'd have a better idea of what the specifics are, because the planning numbers that I'm looking at here are general and averages based upon what we're seeing in the market on a facility that I'm working on currently. So.
Okay. Holly, thank you.
You're welcome.
Council, comments?
I think that's great, because I think what it does is it does give us a kind of an overview and kind of puts a little money to what, you know, the cost of what the different options are for us to be able to look forward in the future.
Excellent. Yeah, it's always, when you say, oh, what's a recreation center cost? Well, the answer is it depends, and this kind of just gives you a better idea.
It does. Thank you, Holly.
You're
And we'd look, Travis, could you maybe get us a hard copy of your presentation? Allow us to look at this and schedule some discussion in the future where we can decide maybe a next step.
Excellent.
Okay.
And I actually have this on thumb drive that I can give to Travis as well.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Holly. Thanks for that. Travis, thank you for the information. Perfect. We needed that. Okay. City manager's report. Jason?
Okay. Yep. Thanks, Mayor, Council. As Dave alluded to, we have been going through some RFPs. We have selected a new mailing service that we talked about 2 weeks ago. They're from the Salt Lake area, and they're going to be able to do everything that we would like them to do, including monthly newsletters and at a savings. So that's one of the reasons you do RFPs, to look at what's the best option. So we'll be getting started on that.
You said monthly. Are we going to send out monthly and still bill bi-monthly? How's that going to work?
Yeah, until we switch over. Well, so we'll do the monthly newsletters first, and then once we get all of the meters, everything switched over where we can do that on a monthly, then we'll eventually switch over to monthly. I think we're one of the only cities that does it every other month. So we're working on that to get our technology of being able to read those meters to where we're able to do it monthly. But for the start, we'll just do the monthly newsletter as we get it going.
That will help a lot with our communication that we've been talking about.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And if I can, Jason and I have been talking, we would like the first page of the newsletters to be really a council process. So unless you tell me otherwise, I'd like to ask you to consider, give you advance notice, but consider maybe drafting up some thoughts and then share that with Jason so we can get that incorporated in the newsletter.
Okay,
the city will do well in the other pages, but I think it'd be nice if we had a voice and able to point a lot of things that are going on from an elected official, so the individuals can hear it from us. Okay,
Right.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jason.
Going forward, this is a big one, and that is our insurance broker. Currently, we have had GBS as our insurance broker, and what an insurance broker is they kind of mediate between the insurance companies and the city to find out the best deal that they can get for us. We haven't done an RFP for a really long time, so we thought, man, what a great time to do it. And if we end up going with GBS, which is one of the top 2 companies, it just keeps them honest and it keeps them in our best interest for the city and the city employees. So right now we have GBS and Fred A. Morton as the 2 that really stood out. So Matt's got his work cut out for him to negotiate some of the stuff for the city.
So explain mediation between what they do and what Irma does.
So completely different. This is just the health insurance instead of like liability and insurance coverage. So this is our medical, our dental, some different flex plans, some of those options.
When does that have to be? Because I thought we don't do that at the first of the year.
Yeah, but the
We're
process.
doing this for next year.
Yeah, for this
Oh,
upcoming
okay,
next year.
okay.
Yeah,
I
so
was
in
like,
July when
we
we
already
start
have
the new
insurance,
budget
right?
year, that's
Okay.
when we'll go to it. But
Okay.
hopefully this is all done by March or April, so,
So we
can
have
kinda-
know what's going on for
Right,
next year, starting
right,
in January. Okay.
Right. Am I saying that right, Matt?
Yeah,
Okay,
he was
perfect.
agreeing.
That's always nice. Okay, the basement remodel is coming quite nicely. Hopefully the gym is done by Friday or maybe Monday. So if it's not done by Monday, then we take it out of Travis's hide every day for the next little bit. So, just kidding. And the conference room is done. If you want to go look at the conference room, it's done. We've actually had our interviews with the insurance brokers, and it was great because they brought 3 or 4 people or 5 people, of their team, and it worked out really good. So it's
Good.
also got the TV up there for all the new hires, so it looks really nice.
The old wallpaper's down.
No, it's
Oh.
going good. We had a department head meeting today, and we're going to work on getting all the budget packets out to the department heads, and get that ball rolling. So I'll kind of keep you apprised as that gets going. Other than that, I think that's all for me, unless you guys have anything for me.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. Mayor and City Council report. Council? Comments, ideas, anything?
Well,
Nothing.
Can we discuss our plan with the youth council yet, or?
Well, we're close, but I did share some information. Jan's the conduit between us and the youth council, and as I mentioned to Jan, there is a local officials day that's going to take place on the 24th of January. Youth council members are invited. Go to the Capitol as well as down to the Salt Palace as part of that. We need to contact the front office if the youth has an interest in joining us, and then we'll arrange transportation to take them with us. But the important part is they have a pretty nice program set up for the youth down there to kind of understand how government works. And Jen's going to kind of work that piece.
I'll work on that this week, Brian. I will work on that this week. I have not even been in contact with the youth council up to this point, but I will. And they need to be sworn in, and they need to.
And you have the list, right?
Understand.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
And then coupled with that, I talked to Jan about what you're referring to, and we can make that connection. I think, Brian, once she gets all that settled, and how the youth council can help us with your proposal, which is recognition within the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, Mayor, on the legislation side, every Monday, the city manager and the mayor can go to the Capitol, and they have a meeting to go over ongoing issues, any new city information that's coming up that we may need to be aware of for the updated session. So we'll be there every single Monday, making sure that we're on the topics that we need to be on, and so we'll be doing that every Monday, starting Monday.
Yeah, it's coming quick.
Yeah.
So we'll be pushing that. Thank you, Jason.
Gosh.
Anything else? Okay, one last thing, if you don't mind, let me just clarify. I believe the city was looking to see if they can locate a representative, a resident representative to Hill Air Force Base for the community issues. Do you know if we've been able to get a volunteer?
I haven't.
Okay, it's called the Hill Air Force Base Restoration Advisory Board, and I know the announcement went out to the community. If we need to look at other sources, maybe Amy, we can put that on the city website. I've seen it on other sites, but I think it's a great opportunity to get literally the residents to be engaged in some of the things that's going on with Hill Air Force Base, and particularly some of the issues associated with, I suspect, some of the environmental cleanup issues that's unfolding. And so we just want to make sure that we get that word out and invite them to be part of that. Okay. Anything else? Council? Okay. Do I have a motion? Let me make sure I clear this. I have a motion to, no, we're gonna do the review. We've got a couple of projects, so let's go through those. Okay, Jason, North Park,
Yep.
give us a status on that.
Yep, I'll have Director Flint do that, and also Trav, if you can hit on the ramp grants.
Good news. On Wednesday, January 25th, our playground is scheduled to be shipped here to Roy, Utah, with construction beginning on January 29th. Weather permitting, we're very optimistic to be completed with the project by the end of February, as far as the playground goes. As far as ramp grants, we submitted 3 ramp grants for the Weber County Ramp Association in no particular order. The first one we did was on a restrooms at the new trailhead we're putting in on 6,000. This is on the north side of 6,000 where we'll be putting a parking lot, and we wanted to put a bike service station as well as restrooms that we asked ramp for $84,875 to help in that process. The second ramp grant we put in for was Roy Days amenities and fish pond amenities because they're tied in with the fishing derby and things like that. And we asked for $40,000 toward go to increase power as well as crowd control barriers, benches, and improvement and benches at the pond, and ADA improvements for an ADA accessible dock for people who need wheelchairs to be able to fish in our pond. The third one we submitted, we are calling it, for lack of no better name right now, the Hero Monument. And the Hero Monument would be put out front by the marquee, and it would have bronze, 6-foot tall bronze figures of a police officer, a military member, and a member of the fire department. It would be kind of almost a monument area where we would have cement and beautify that area up. And frankly speaking, we are a city that is very, very supportive and appreciative of those individuals, and we think it would be a nice tribute to put something like that there. For that, we are asking for $165,000 from RAMP. We are going to be turning in requests for what is called Easy Grants, and Easy Grants are due at the end of March. And a couple of one of the ideas we have right now, and if you have more, please get with us, preferably mid-February so we can have time to work on them, is kind of an awning gazebo area out here for our senior citizens at the Hope Center. We have some really talented people here at Royce City, and you know, Ross, talking with Public Works Director Ross Oliver, he felt more comfortable with our ability to do some of the construction on these things, so it made it so we can look to do what is known as easy grants, where you don't need quite as much funding. We can turn in 2 easy grants, so that's one of our ideas. So you got until about mid-February to give me a second idea. I just wanted to inform you of those situations, what we have heading down the pipeline.
Okay, thank you. And just for verification, splash pad, early spring, is that your game plan?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that'll complete literally is phase 1 of.
Bowery will go in about real simultaneously with the splash pad too.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Jason?
Okay, the emergency operation plan. I put a copy in front of each one of you. I'm not sure if you understand the time that goes into developing an emergency operation plan for the city. The reasoning being it's so time consuming as we haven't done it for a long, long time. So what you have before you is the base plan, and what we'd like you guys to do, we don't need any type of approval, just look at it, and what we'll probably do is put it on the agenda in 2 weeks. So let's keep it as the items for follow-up, but we'll probably put it as an action item in 2 weeks. And Amy, if you can make that note, and then let's see if we can approve this document. There's a couple things that go with the EOP plan, but this one is the one where we want you guys to approve it, and it'll stay approved as written. We have other parts to an emergency operation plan that are constantly changing, so we don't want to approve that because we'll be in here all the time trying to approve those changes. And then once this is done, we're going to put this plan into action and test the plan and make sure that the plan does what we want it to do and that it meets our needs. And if it doesn't, what a great time to learn that and is in a mock disaster and not a real life scenario. So I'm happy with the emergency operation plan, and so take a look at it and we'll talk about it in a couple weeks. The strategic plan is a plan in motion. It's still there. I just haven't had much time. So, and then the transportation plan, Mayor, I don't know if you want to talk about the transportation plan.
Yeah, obviously my interest on the transportation plan is there was discussion taking place to consider allowing, I believe, our engineering contractor and see if we can in the terms of that contract and see if they can help us develop that. We believe, and we surely have been told a couple of times, when the city has a good, effective, approved transportation plan, even though that's a subset to the general plan itself, then UDOT listens. And UDOT and Wasatch Front Regional Council will listen, but they only listen really if in fact the council and the city basically says this is what we need and we need your help to make that happen. And so I'm sensing that transportation plan is a key to that, and I think if we can just keep pushing that, look at the possibilities, and then drive us to have something that the council can review and make comment on and get approved.
And I do have Wasatch Civil working on that transportation plan,
Perfect.
So I will follow up with them tomorrow, just a follow-up email to see how it's going.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you. It's been an enjoyable meeting. We covered a lot of ground, got a lot of information out. We appreciate your attendance. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make the motion we adjourn.
Give me a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Jan, any opposed? Just
I
kidding.
don't want to stay any
Hey,
longer.
thank you for coming. Okay, appreciate your time.